It's the sequel, baby. We are back and better than ever. Chugging right along with season 2. Let's go. All right, sorry. Let me actually introduce myself. Hi, everyone. All right, well, moving on. All right, I'm joking. Hi. Honestly, I don't know what I'm supposed to intro. If you haven't seen me before, I already made one video that's gonna be just like this, talking about Total Drama Island while taking it way more serious than most people should take a cartoon from the 2010s, where in light of the new seasons of actual Total Drama dropping, I plan to make some little cute episode rankings of each season, where I become a narcissist and just talk about my opinions, and that's all. Nobody else matters at all, definitely. Okay, but seriously, according to math, this is the next season in line for the Total Drama cinematic universe. Total Drama Action. The season that took place literally 2 days after the ending of Total Drama Island. Did these kids not suffer enough? Oh my god. I guess if there's $1 million on the line, I'd do the same thing. Nah, that's right. I said $1 million because, I don't really know where I'm going with that. It's $1 million. Come on, what else do you want? 14 players from last season are coming back to do it all again, except this time on an abandoned film lot. Same rules, 2 teams, a bunch of challenges. 14 people, but only one winner. As you have to vote out your competition one by one at the Gilded Chris ceremony. And once you are voted out, you can't come back. Ever. Except for Eva and Izzy last season, but that's the only exception, we promise, definitely. And for those of you who are not in the loop on how the hell any of this happened, let me introduce you to episode 27 of Total Drama Island. If there were 27 episodes, why didn't I cover that in my last review? Well, short answer is I'm lazy. But the most important reason is I feel like this special 27th episode felt more important to the development of season 2 rather than the conclusion of season 1. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea this damn show had a special 27th episode until way later into my watch time. Probably a couple years ago, and I've been watching the show since the beginning, so it's been a while. It always felt like a fever dream to me, and it is literally not canon except for the fact that it shows who competes on Total Drama Action. If you really want a breakdown of what happens in this 45 minutes of chaos, it's actually pretty good. A lot of laughs here. Ezekiel tried to correct his sexist nature and ended up losing $1 million. Jeff and Bridget make out. Courtney slowly develops into the antagonist of the series. More on that much later. Duncan fights a crocodile. Heather is still bald. And Justin actually speaks. No, I'm not joking. He said words. Look.
I'm going to lose it. What areas have you guys searched through?
But now that the special is out of the way, we are caught up to date on where the season all started in 2008. Before I fully officially dive into the second season, to just add any structure to my rankings, 26 episodes, ranking them from the bottom to the top along the way until we have a completed list. And the final notes I'm going to make is just how shocking it was, how unknown Total Drama Action truly is. Obviously, it's very well known in the idea that they still made many seasons after the original, so it didn't quote-unquote flop, but the amount of drop-off from season 1 to season 2 is insane. I've had plenty of personal friends who all know what Total Drama Island is. It's an actual TV phenomenon. But when I ask about anything further, it's always, I never got to those seasons, or not even knowing that there are new seasons of the show. That's why I felt Total Drama Island caught lightning in a bottle. It's incredible how successful it truly was. Does that mean that Total Drama Action was a flop as its successor? Let's find out as I rank every episode of Total Drama Action.
Your mom and dad are doing fine. You guys are on my mind. I wanna be famous.
We are live, and it's time for a new season with familiar faces. And no, I'm not going to go over the cast one by one again like I did last season. Duncan, Gwen, Trent, Heather, Lashana, Harold, Lindsay, Beth, Justin, Owen, no, that's Kaleidoscope. E-Scope for short, actually. DJ, Jeff, and Bridget. What a group. But chop, we got places to be, as Chris will give us a quick tour of the abandoned film lot and explains the rules, as I just did a little bit earlier, with every episode and every challenge being based off a different movie genre. What's this episode, you may ask? The monster movie, of course. And the crew have to make it to the cast trailers before getting snatched by the big bad monster. And honestly, it's a fun little scene to start out this season. Some fun character dynamics. Okay, character dynamic because Owen absolutely carries this entire episode with his commentary. I know that Owen can definitely be grating to some people. I definitely do appreciate Owen as a character, but I can understand he's very one note, and I definitely don't need an abundance of Owen on my TV screens like I did this episode. However, with it just being one episode, the premiere, I think it's fine. Just limit the fart jokes and I'm a happy camper. I mean, the episode has literally zero substance to it. You can pretty much skip it if I'm being honest, but that doesn't make it bad. I still enjoyed my watch of it. It's still total drama, so it's not terrible by any means, not great by any means. I'll do a little happy medium and say it's just fine. On to pretty much a continuation of episode 1. It's the Alien movie challenge, and I enjoyed this one. This episode is pretty much the cast trying not to die from Chef the Alien. Poor Chef, this dude has been the big bad 2 episodes in a row. Whatever, regardless, the main plot is served with a juicy side plot of little moments between Gwen and Duncan getting along, with Trent seemingly getting a bit jealous, but I'm sure it's nothing. I mean, Gwen and Trent were the most stable relationship in season 1. It's gonna take a lot more than that to break them up. But back to the challenge. It was fun. More enjoyable than the first episode for sure. Chef versus Izzy round 2, or Chef versus E-Scope round 1? Maybe? I don't even know anymore, but E-Scope has been so fun just 2 episodes into the show. Heather lost her wig, so we are getting Patchy Egghead this season. Woo! But the end of this episode has the most long-lasting effects, with Trent, Gwen, and Duncan being the only ones left in the challenge. And after dropping a literal nuke on the trio, Trent is left with a decision: win the challenge or save Gwen's necklace, which was never mentioned a single time in the entire series until this episode, but it's super duper important. I swear it is. And as Trent does, he picks the necklace, and honestly is still able to win the challenge with Gwen, so hey, things are on the up and up for these two. This relationship isn't quite doomed, even after a little bit of a rough patch there. It's gonna be fine. Okay, now on to some total drama funny stuff. The big twist is that the winners of this challenge are actually the captains for the teams, meaning that this season, it's gonna be Trent versus Gwen. Dun dun dun. Come on, total drama. Gwen and Trent have been through Heather. I know a little team switch isn't about to break off this power couple. They're better and smarter characters than that. The show has already proven that in season 1. Come on now. Anyways, the show has got to get rid of some filler before we get into the juicy bits. And that filler is Jeff and Bridget, who I haven't mentioned at all except for their little introduction because, yeah, they do one thing. And I don't care about that one thing. And this episode as a whole was fine. Pretty good, if anything. My issue is that there isn't any overwhelming moment to enjoy from the episode. And the only reason I maybe talked about this episode more than I should have is just because it contains a lot of important information that will clarify or be little seeds that grow into things that happen later on this season. Aside from that, good stuff. A nice little second episode. Excited to see where things go this season. Riot on set is what I consider the start of the actual season now, with the teams officially being formed, the Killer Grips and the Screaming Gaffers. And with Gwen and Trent as captains of each team, I'm sure it's going to be fun and cute to see who's on what team.
I choose the beautiful Lindsay.
Because I like to keep things cool, I pick Lashana.
Oh god, no. What are you guys doing? Stop. What the hell is this? It's extreme levels of petty, which I love some petty, but y'all are taking this way too seriously. It's not a good look. And that pettiness will carry over to the actual challenge itself, having to bring up an entire production set and cast trailer to the top of this mountain. Luckily, after this part though, the bickering does stop, for this episode at least, and the second part of the episode is actually a lot of fun, as now one person has to act out a scene that they are given, and it's so beautiful. I swear this clip is just engraved into my mind, with E-Scope being a crazy Scottish grandmother and Duncan this hard gangster, except their scripts are kind of switched and each one has to act out each other's part. And with E-Scope's crazy paired with Duncan's Emmy-winning performance, It's just so iconic to me and easily carries, especially because, as you will see with my future rankings and ratings, I'm just not a fan of Trent and Gwen this season. However, the last thing I will mention is a secret alliance that Chef pitches to DJ, agreeing to literally cheat and help out DJ throughout the season. So, as long as DJ wins the $1 million, he will split the prize money 50-50. Evil Chef is here and I'm kinda loving it. And I just think it's a lot funnier when you realize that Chef and DJ are voiced by the same voice actor, so it's really iconic there. When it comes to the actual vote, eScope gets voted out, which kind of sucks because I love eScope, but they needed a scapegoat and eScope was that scapegoat. Anyways, yeah, really solid episode despite the little hiccup between Gwen and Trent. Episode 4, I had a lot of fun with the theme of surfer movie, and the characters were pretty fun too, except for one particular part of it. Bet you can't guess who that is. It's Trent, yeah. He's just a complete mess this episode, and I really wish it didn't exist because literally everything that wasn't Trent this episode, I enjoyed. On the flip side, anything that Trent did, I hated. From his stupid numbered 9 thing that kept popping up all episode out of absolutely nowhere, to him literally throwing the challenge to Gwen and being completely obsessive over her. It's so annoying how he just loses all sense of reality seemingly out of nowhere, and for seemingly no reason. At least in the past, when Heather kissed him before, he didn't turn into some psychopath that loves counting to the number 9. I don't know, this just wasn't funny, and the whole arc, which doesn't conclude for a few more episodes, put a complete stain on the first half of the season, even when I enjoyed a lot of other things. The challenges were so fun and simple here. Owen just being a snoop, whatever this was, Gwen and Duncan breaking down the bus, and Justin entering his villain arc. I enjoyed all of that. It's just a damn shame that all of that was kind of brushed over because we had to focus on Trent being fucking insane. It just makes me mad more than anything, but I won't completely tank this ranking, even though I really, really want to. Yeah, it's this episode. 310 to Crazy Town is so infamous to Total Drama fans. It's the complete fall off and official demise of Trent, and it clearly suffers as an episode because of it. Unlike Beach Blanket Bogus, which I just talked about, this episode gives us, all Trent here, where there just isn't one moment from this episode that redeems Trent in any way. He's way off the deep end here. From losing all ability to talk to Gwen like a normal person, to throwing the challenge again. It's a shame that my favorite part of this episode is literally... Sorry, impulses got to me there. I deeply apologize. Anyways, my favorite part was Gwen breaking up with Trent and Trent getting booted, because that means this hopefully will end very, very soon. The only other significant moment I'll talk about is after the breakup, Justin was kind of spying in on the combo and confronts Gwen to the team about Trent throwing challenges for Gwen. Why does this exist? I get it, Justin is being manipulative, but why is a single soul mad at Gwen right now? That's a completely awkward and unfixable situation that she has dealt with right now, and now owes the grips. For what reason? Okay, Owen totally looked at Lindsay's tits, but come on, this just pissed me off more than anything, and you'll see that come into effect with future rankings of episodes. And as much as I really don't want to talk about this episode, it's not at the bottom, not even bottom 4 surprisingly, so... at least that's a plus, if we can find one here. The aftermath. What do I say about this? Alright. I'm not gonna stall much. Potential hot take incoming. I don't care about the aftermath shows on this season. Specifically, this season. They just do a whole lot of nothing for me. It's supposed to be like a parody of this after show reality talk show things that some shows do, I guess. Bringing back the eliminated contestants from the previous episodes and talking with them. I just don't care. I don't even care for them on actual reality shows, so I damn sure I'm not about to care about Total Drama putting a spin on this format. Jeff and Bridget are the hosts of the show too, and in defense of this episode specifically, it's probably my favorite official aftermath episode this season. I'm not counting the finale. eScope was a lot of fun, and then Trent went back on stage and was actually normal again. Who would have thunk? He gets eliminated and all of a sudden he learns how to speak like a normal human being. It's crazy. Jeff and Bridget fought and like broke up, but get back together. They always seem to do that a lot. Whatever, I really don't have a lot to say here. It's not ranking highly, and it mostly serves as filler to try and fit the 26 episode quota. That's another reason I don't really like this. Do I really have to talk about this episode? You know, I can skip it and act like I forgot, right? Whatever, fine. The Shawshank Redemption, episode 7. It sucks, okay? It sucks. Prison Flick Challenge. Can't even enjoy it. The entire episode is just Gwen having to apparently throw the challenge because she owes the grips. It's so stupid. I still don't understand what she owes and why she goes through with it. The only thing I'm going to care to talk about is that Izzy comes back because by technicality, E-Scope was voted out, not Izzy. So Izzy's back. Nice. And Gwen continues to throw the challenge and then votes herself out of the game. It's just, it's moronic. I just don't enjoy a single thing about this episode. It's going to the bottom, and it's by far one of my least favorite episodes of the entire show. I don't think it's a coincidence that the literal second Gwen and Trent are gone, we get a very solid episode of the show. It's time to play doctor, and with that comes having to study all damn night, as doctors do. But if you haven't noticed here, every other episode of this season is a reward challenge, so the contestants being able to count to 2 can realize nobody is going to get booted this episode. So Lashana and Duncan decide to call it an early night and don't study at all before the challenge the next day. And from here, the challenge isn't really important. It's kind of filler in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter at all. And the true drama came from literally everyone getting sick and coming down with different symptoms of this very contagious, very fatal, and totally real disease, knocking them all out of commission, except for ironically Duncan and Lashana. And now the most criminally underrated duo in the show's history, you heard me, the most criminally underrated duo now have to work together to solve the case on why everyone got sick all of a sudden for basically no reason. And wouldn't you know it, turns out this was all a plot by Chris and Chef to lace the pizza that the contestant got to eat last night with itching powder and laxatives. I mean, I don't think you're allowed to do that to literal children, but whatever. And the rest of the symptoms come from first year medical school syndrome, I guess, where too much studying and too little sleep makes you really think you got almost every disease in the book. Sure, we'll go with that. So the gaffers win the reward, sending one person from the team to a spa day with a loved one, which is a really cool reward. And this is where Lashana brings out the tears, just sobbing in front of everyone, which, due to the sympathy of the rest of the team and her actually carrying the day on the challenge, sends her to the spa day. But, alas, it was all a trick. Lashana fake cried to get the reward, which, like, yes, girl boss, we love that for her. I mean, I love that play from Lashana. I'm sure it's not going to have any real consequences in the future at all. It's just a silly reward, you know? So yeah, I adore this episode. It's a reward, so I can't exactly justify number 1 on the list, but it is almost everything else I want and easily deserves a top 4 spot for the season. And if you don't agree with that, there's this one clip from this episode that is just one of my favorite clips in the show's entire history, and I hope this speaks volumes for how much I love this episode.
For Doris McGrady V. Please don't tell Duncan about the Doris part.
I don't know if I can handle being in an alliance with you and Doris here.
How could you?
The Sandwich Project is next, and it's showtime for some spooky things. The horror movie challenge was, I guess, a little disappointing. I mean, it's 2008 horror and a cartoon show at the same time, but the challenge I just didn't really care about, and I feel like there was so much there. Like last season with the horror movie challenge that they had, that was a lot of fun, and this one just wasn't. But it is the in-between stuff that I was really happy and intrigued with this episode. Lindsay finally has a role in like anything this season, and she's grown out of the show of Heather's sidekick from last year and decided she's going to be the leader of her team this year, which is awesome. I mean, it's baby steps to being a great leader. She's not quite there yet, but we'll get there eventually. The only other storyline that's relevant is that Chris made like 16-year-old children kiss while pressuring them. I mean, I'm joking, but not really. It's a little weird, Chris. I'm not gonna lie, but let's get to the actual meat of this episode, and that's our good old buddy DJ. If you do remember, DJ has his little illegal alliance with Chef, but he's been flopping at these challenges and being way too nice because DJ is just perfect in every way, so we love that. But that's not good enough for Chef, who just blatantly steps in and cheats to help the gaffers. DJ gets to redeem himself, and in the final challenge, his master's spooky plan scares away the Grips and Lindsay and wins the whole challenge for the gaffers, forcing the Grips to finally vote someone out. But in DJ's head, this is just not right. He's not making Mama proud, and it's eating him up inside. So hopefully this won't be relevant in the next 30 seconds, because on the Grips side, Lindsay's leadership tactics were lacking, to say the least. So she is about to get voted out until, wouldn't you know, DJ decides to do what's best for Mama, exposing him and Chef's illegal alliance, exposing he's been cooking the meals for everyone, which is something I haven't mentioned to this point because it's a very minor plot in the show, but the food being given to the campers has been so good these past few episodes just because of how much DJ loves to cook. The most important thing, he's voting himself out, actively quitting the game to clear his conscience and feel like himself again, which I can respect for DJ. But it's still a really sad ending, as I do love DJ as a character, and any episode I can have with DJ is a good episode in my mind. So the episode as a whole is solid. Nothing special, but nothing bad. But in the grand scheme of Total Drama Action, I can't complain about a top half episode. Episode 10 was the disaster themed challenge, and this episode didn't bring a ton, just small but notable moments. First of all, Beth reveals that she has a model boyfriend, Brady, and that she's also a terrible girlfriend from her past actions this season, like whatever, and eventually her future actions as well. So good for you, Beth, but nobody really does believe her, and it becomes a gag throughout the whole season. Second of all, Owen, actually broke his jaw. What the fuck? Cartoon characters are not supposed to have actual injuries that leap over to more than just a funny little injury joke. It's really dark, but okay, I can get down with this. But the main storyline and plot that comes out of this episode is in the final challenge. Basically, escaping this submarine thing while the submarine fills up with water, but everything possible goes wrong, and now the campers are in legit danger of, drowning. Don't worry. During this entire scuffle, Lashana starts crying because she's about to die, and somehow the entire Gaffer team comes to the same conclusion that Lashana fake cried 2 episodes ago to go on that stupid reward, which, is true. How do you get to that conclusion with such confidence? It literally boggles my mind, and it's one of the biggest mysteries in my head for Total Drama, ever. I'm so confused. It's dumb. It's really dumb. That kind of really just pissed me off. I can't even be that excited that Harold literally saved the entire cast's lives by being the certified badass again. And then, aside from Owen getting his jaw wired shut, that's about all we got. The episode was pretty good, but the moment Lashana gets exposed just annoyed me because of how rushed I felt it was. I felt like they could have done it so much better, and they just threw it into some random episode. Completely tanks my mindset of the episode to just be kind of fine instead of maybe pretty good in the grand scheme of things. Full Metal Drama is actually a pretty fun episode of the show, even with everyone still really pissed at Lashana. That luckily isn't a major factor in this episode, because the campers are going to war, getting introduced to Izzy's newest personality, Explosivo, which was definitely a choice. But there's another new personality I enjoyed this episode, and that was Admiral Lindsay Girlboss, her hotness, Sir. Yes. And she is back and ready to lead this team of misfits to a win. And aside from Beth and Lindsay having absolutely zero attraction to Justin all of a sudden for plot purposes, there isn't much that's great about this episode until you get to Duncan and Harold. These two boys carried this episode together. I've always loved their dynamic together, but this season is just the true last chance they get to fully interact with each other, and oh man, I loved it the whole time they were on screen. From just their bickering the whole time, to being the last line of defense against the Grips, to Harold's numyos to Duncan using Lashana's deadly fart fumes to take down the grips. No, I'm not going to explain why the fart fumes are a thing. We're moving on. And then the ending where the gaffers win. Duncan and Harold open the chest just to it be nothing. A literal metaphor to the true meaning of war was just so over the top, but so funny at the same time. I was kind of living for it.
For what?
An empty trunk!
The madness of war! What?
Like, that 5-minute scene of those two just going through this episode makes it for me. Aside from that, not much here. Explosivo/Izzy gets sent home again. Overall, that duo did enough to rank top half for this episode. Really good stuff. The second aftermath was really bleak. Jeff sucks this episode, trying to exploit all of his friends for views. Gwen is forced to talk about Trent, blah, blah, blah. I've been tortured enough by this. Jeff completely ruins this episode for me, and I'm sorry if you enjoy the aftermath episodes, just because they're not it for me. I don't know, but Izzy was literally the best thing about this episode. And that's so embarrassing because Izzy was the best part of the last Aftermath episode. Like, whatever, I'm gonna spend as little time talking about this. Let's move on. You know where this is going. We've kind of been sputtering for a little bit. First half of the season put in a chokehold by the Gwen and Trent of it all, and not too much interesting or enjoyable drama happening, but luckily a switch turns, and we are about to enter what I believe is the peak stretch of the season, so let's talk about it. Starting with episode 13, Ocean's 8 or 9. First of all, why in the hell does Owen's jaw work again? It's been like two days? Like, whatever. I guess you couldn't really put him in with a locked jaw for the entire season, but still, like, that's kind of lazy. As far as the challenge goes, I had a lot of fun with this. It's a bank heist challenge with Lashana and Owen getting kidnapped and locked in a vault, and some really funny moments here. Eventually leading us to the reveal of all reveals, Courtney is back, baby. Due to a lawsuit she sent against the show and won against the show, she is back in the game and ready to bring it. And as the honorary Courtney stan, I'm so pumped she's back, ready to fuel some life into this season. Trent who? Gwen who? It's Courtney time. And then in the second half of this episode, it was a lot of fun too. Owen just going insane, Courtney trying to morph this group of misfits into being something useful, and then everything on the gaffers is just pure comedy. Despite the effort from Courtney, the Grips lose the challenge in hilarious fashion.
Now tell me that is not the Gilded Chris theme!
And the ending of this episode was a lot of fun too, with literally every single one of the Grips voting for Courtney. Even though, in Courtney's contract, she is not allowed to be voted for at this first vote. Like, I don't know, I really do love this. And Owen gets sent out with the one vote. Courtney went off for being a realist here. Just one of those episodes that kind of refueled my love for this show and this season, so fingers crossed the show stays delivering episodes like this from here on out. Episode 14 is the period movie challenge, and of course, out of all the eras they chose, we're headed to the prehistoric era, with like dinosaurs and shit, you know? And overall, this episode was kind of stale. Its one saving grace is just one word and 2 syllables. Wait, or is it 1 syllable? The answer is Courtney. Courtney. Yeah, that's 2. All right, let's go. She absolutely carries this episode in what I think is actually a kind of boring episode. Like, Courtney's rules are just so good. Chris is so patronizing here when reading out these special rules and favors that Courtney gets. Give me all of that, please. And then the tension I tell you between Courtney and Duncan is so there. Apparently they're like not together anymore after Island, but come on, these two are gonna do it. They just are, which makes it even better when they kiss. Oh god, I don't think Duncan's ever having kids after that. What the hell? But literally just those 2 moments I just mentioned save this episode from some pretty lackluster content. As well as this being a reward challenge, not quite the bottom of the barrel, thanks to Queen Courtney. We're picking up the pace again with episode 15, $1 Million Babies. A sports movie challenge that just entertained me the whole way. Each 1v1 challenge was a lot of fun and brought something here. Harold versus Lindsay. I mean, How do you not love Harold? An absolute gem this entire season, and especially this challenge. Heather versus Beth was fun to watch. Beth finally got her revenge on Heather for all of that season 1 drama. Duncan versus Courtney, need I say any more? They are so perfect.
Ooh, the big bad diaper shark. Come on, tough man.
Oh god, what the fuck was that? Oh no, can we please move on? Please, 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 we gotta go. Alright, on to the main plot of the episode, Lashana versus the World, Part 2. Beth kind of casually steals Courtney's PDA to talk to her totally real boyfriend, and ends up finding some juicy dirt on Lashana. Now, I do think fake crying to get a reward is a pretty soft reason to be pissed at someone forever, but trashing the entire cast after you get the reward definitely warrants some anger. Lashana, I love you, but this I can't exactly defend, and clearly gets everyone pissed at her once again. So, it takes an absolutely beautiful performance by Lashana in the tiebreaker challenge, trying to regain favor with everyone, and doing a pretty good job at it, while all of it being from the heart. She might just win the... Oh god, how could I be so wrong? That was art, and the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Gaffers, you people lose, send someone home. But hey, and a bit of a twist here, Heather gets the boot instead of Lashana. A wonderful blindside that saves Lashana, where Harold and Duncan worked together to save her. I just love this ending so much, and one of my favorites in the entire show. And that absolutely boosts this episode. I just had a lot of fun. And then a great boot off to go with it. Yes, I will eat this up any day of the week. It's been 15 long episodes. Some great episodes, some not so great. But it's time for a twist, a shake-up, the merge.
That's when we bend all the rules in a place where we belong.
That right there is single-handedly the greatest scene in all of Total Drama. Argue with your mom, I do not care who asks. This scene is unironically iconic. 16 stands, please rise. Okay, I'm sorry. I got a little bit off track there. Let's get to the merge. It's the spy movie challenge, having to do all of these little spy things. Duh. The episode was such a fun episode for the characters. With the merge arriving, everyone is individual and individually showed why I love these people. Lashana just begging for Harold and Duncan to settle their differences and make an alliance together, and they are just not budging at any point. Justin is a hideous creature now, apparently, so he needs to rely on something that isn't his looks for the first time in his life. A fun and underrated journey for him. And Duncan and Courtney are gonna do it. I don't know when, but they're gonna do it. And the rest of the episode is spent with the cast about to die multiple times, celebrating a little too early and blowing up some stink bombs. I don't know what to tell you. I just love this episode. I adore this episode. I don't think it's a favorite of most people, especially with no elimination happening, but that literally doesn't matter to me. I love this episode from beginning to end, and it has one of my all-time favorite scenes. You can't argue with the truth here. It's gonna be up there.
Starting to find my way, got a new job, gonna start at the mall today.
Episode 17, Superhero ID, continues this stretch of really solid episodes. Like, literally, Courtney came into this game and all of these episodes have been solid to amazing. But for the second season in a row, the guys are down in numbers, and Duncan is here to try and band the guys together to take down the girls. Again, that will be brought up later. Let me get into the challenge first. It's time for superheroes. I am officially a Captain Alberta stan. Lindsay being literally Wonder Woman is unironically hilarious, but Courtney is a challenge beast, so she's gonna take immunity. Let's get to the fun part of the episode, the vote. Just like last season, at I believe the exact same episode number, it's guys versus girls on the vote. Really creative of you, Total Drama. And just like last season, Duncan is the prime target on the girls' side. And just like last season, Duncan stays as the entire cast is blindsided and shocked. Did I just bitch about the lack of creativity on Total Drama's part? Yes. Did I rank this episode with the same style vote out really low last season? Yes. Now, why in the hell do I feel any differently about this episode's vote out. It's one word: Courtney. Courtney made this episode so much better than Total Drama Island's episode. She pulls out all the stops and manipulates Harold into voting out his fair ladykins Lashana. And yes, I am sad Lashana went home and Harold instantly regretting voting her out. But I think it's the perfect ending this season for Lashana. She was not destined to win. That's not what her storyline was about at all this season. She got into a lot of drama, made some mistakes, and eventually got taken out in a blindside. What more could I honestly ask for? I think it's a wonderful ending for Lashana. As the designated Lashana stan of the channel, I'm happy and I'm satisfied. Great episode. Let's move on. Y'all know the deal already. It's the aftermath. Let's make this quick. Jeff and Bridget argue and break up again. Owen's mom blew $50K on a massive cheese seller. That won't be important later on, I'm sure. Lashana does admit that she has feelings for Harold, but only wants to stay friends. That's really cute. And then Jeff finally gets his comeuppance, and Jeff and Bridget make up and make out. I don't know what else you want. That's it this episode. You know my thoughts. Hear ye, hear ye. We have arrived. The long-awaited Fairy Tale Princess Movie Theme Challenge. And it's a good one. We might be here a little while. First of all, at the top of the episode, Lindsay has massive feet. But that might have just boosted Lindsay's popularity. We don't judge here. Live your life, live your life. In honor of Cinderella or Rapunzel or Sophia the First, I don't actually remember whatever the hell it is. Courtney is selected princess for the challenge, setting the stage for my favorite challenge in Total Drama Action, I think, the race for Princess Courtney. This will start the very quick but very fun rivalry between Justin and Duncan. Despite me living for every Duncan and Courtney scene, they are so on and off together, just kind of teen shit trying to figure out what they actually are. So Justin, who's lost all charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, is getting used to this whole brain thing and sees past appearances and that Courtney is actually really smart and he likes it. He likes it a lot.
I like it a lot.
Justin, what the hell? That was my line, dude. Whatever. This clearly makes Duncan jealous, leading to their rivalry all episode and some really fun scenes throughout it. All of this ending with Justin right there, so close to sealing the deal with Courtney, and then so close to sealing the deal with getting Duncan out. But oh, Justin, he went 0 for 2 and got himself voted out and hideously deformed. His words, not mine. Okay, don't come for my neck, please. But we lose Justin here. I have no idea what to think about Justin. Obviously, from his season 1 appearance, you could only go up from there here in season 2. But even then, I'm just so wishy-washy on him. Sometimes I'll watch this season and think he's actually underrated. Honestly, the villain of the first half until Courtney comes along. But then, on some watches, including this one, he was just fine. But wasn't as notable as I thought he would have been. Overall, I enjoyed him on this season and still think there is some untapped potential in Justin in the future, if that ever does happen. As for this episode, hear ye, hear ye, we found it. My number 1 favorite episode of Total Drama Action is right here. Congratulations. We can celebrate and enjoy with just such a fun episode of the show. I loved it all from start to the finish. So to the top of the list you go, buddy. You earned it. Episode 20, time for Get a Clue.
I want a prize!
Oh, God, yeah, it's this episode. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but it's going to be diabolical how much I spam that.
I want a prize!
Okay, I'm serious. I'll stop for now and actually talk about the episode. But the challenge is the mystery movie challenge, where Chris is murdered. And the cast are on a moving train trying to figure out who the murderer is. All right, I'm so sorry, but there are just so many good clips this episode, and that's what I love about this episode. It's so damn stupid, but some of that stupid turns into some really fun moments that just make me stupid laugh. You know, like a or whatever. Like, literally, none of this stuff matters except for the crew turning on Duncan and then turning on Courtney to figure out who murdered Chris. I enjoyed very much how dumb this episode was, and Lindsay sticking it to Courtney at the end of the episode is the epitome of Girl Boss Queen icon slay. But the whole
I wanna fry!
of it all isn't my favorite, not by a long stretch, so no matter how much this episode is a joy to me, there's also just some really bad parts. This is probably the worst Courtney gets in the season, and it's just a shame because it kind of tanks what could have been a really just fun, stupid little episode. It's time to rock and rule. Episode 21 of the show, and we are here with our final five. Duncan, Harold, Courtney, Beth, Lindsay, and Oh shit, Owen's here. Whoa, a bit random, but apparently because Owen's mom blew 50 grand on a cheese seller, the family got no money, and production brought him back to stir chaos and become a mole of sorts, while putting up a front that Owen sued the show for his unfair elimination and was let back in the game. Touche, Total Drama. Touche. And the rock and roll challenges, I wish they were better, I'm not gonna lie. Kinda bland. Duncan Smash Part 1, Lindsay Girl Boss Icons Queen Slayed Part 2, and Courtney Destroyed Part 3, winning immunity again. But the most infamous thing about this episode is the vote. Duncan is the main target again. Like, damn, they are determined to get out Duncan this season. But this one actually has legs to stand on. Lindsay, Beth, and Harold have the majority due to Owen just throwing his vote away. But like the previous attempts, Duncan stays, and Lindsay is blindsided by herself. Yep, Lindsay accidentally voted herself out of the game. Yeah, that's what the show did to write off Lindsay. It's so dumb, but just, I don't know what to think. I guess my main issue with it all is that this was the season for Lindsay to win. At least make the finale, make it to the end. It's so devastating that gets thrown down the drain for seemingly no reason. Lindsay was a star this season. She deserves so much better than getting a bullshit elimination for the second season in a row. Justice for Lindsay, like what the hell? This episode was fine. It's just a nothing for me, despite having a really dramatic vote out. The biggest nothing episode of the entire season was episode 22, Crouching Courtney, Hidden Owen. I'll give y'all the Cliff Notes version. Courtney tries aligning with Beth, but they hate each other, and then decide to work together. Duncan and Harold bonded, then they didn't. Owen is really bad at being a mole, and Lashana Jr. was robbed. There, you happy? I'm moving on to some more relevant episodes of the show. This is going pretty far down on the list. 2008, A Space Owen. That kind of makes me feel old hearing 2008. Oh my god. Anyways, it's obviously the Space Movie Challenge. Chef smacked Owen's ass. I swear, Chris and Chef had been dangerously close to some very heinous charges that would not be okay. God, I just don't know how to feel about this episode. Or any of the episodes in this endgame stretch. I guess this might be the best time as ever to get things out of the way right now. While I mentioned the start of the second half of the season is the peak of the season, by around episode 20 or so, things just dive. Most of the episodes I've talked about recently have been in the bottom half of the list, and that really doesn't change aside from a select few episodes we'll be talking about. That's my biggest gripe with Total Drama Action. It's way too inconsistent and just doesn't have that star power of an episode or episodes to sway my opinion. Total Drama Island has its fair share of just fine episodes, but they also have some of the best episodes in the whole series. Action doesn't have that. Anyways, rant over. Let's talk about space. Too many people threw up this episode for my liking, and Duncan's pet killer tarantula Scruffy was brutally murdered, so that's always fun. In the end, Beth ends up winning immunity and definitely sexually violated Harold, but that's none of my business. And this will lead us to the vote. A messy, messy vote with people feeling betrayed all over the place. Let me break it down. The girls' quote-unquote alliance, if you even want to call it that, has split. Harold is onto Owen about being a mole and a traitor, and Harold kind of possibly is the reason that Scruffy was brutally murdered. All of this mess will end with Harold getting the boot. Poor Harold. All right, I'm going to say it. Harold was an absolute star this season. By far my favorite on the season. I do not care who asks. He was hilarious, shined in all of the right places without being shoved down our throats, and really could have won if the show wasn't sucking off on Duncan so hard. This is peak Harold and everything I love about him. This is peak Harold, and everything I love about that nerd came from this season. I'll send him and this episode out with one word. Gosh! Episode 24, down to the final four. Beth, Duncan, Courtney, Owen. Here for the Animal Buddy movie. And I'll be the one to say, I'm going to defend this movie theme with my life. That is a real thing, okay? Y'all ever been traumatized by Marley and Me? Yeah, that's what I thought. I rest my case. You want some tea? Duncan and Courtney are back together. But there's one issue. Courtney is way too controlling and basically trying to convert Duncan to create the perfect relationship. Oh boy, I feel another rant coming. Sorry this is happening 2 rankings in a row, but I'm going to put down my full thoughts on the Duncan and Courtney relationship this season right now. And like the relationship in future seasons, this was a very rocky experience. When Courtney first entered the season, I love that dynamic from her and Duncan. They didn't know what they were, so they were competitive with each other, but you could still very vividly see their chemistry together while trying to resist each other. But as the season drug along, their dynamic became less fun, and I have no idea who to blame for it. I just think the story writers just fumbled the ball here. Think back to season 1, Courtney and Duncan. Like the whole opposites attract trope used to bring them together, where Courtney is competitive and a goody two-shoes, while Duncan is the bad boy that can get her going and break out of her shell. And that is what we loved about those two. And that's why Basic Training is one of the single most iconic episodes in the entire show's existence. Now, move to season 2. They haven't changed as characters much. Courtney is still competitive and Duncan is still a bad boy. But instead of cranking up the more lovable aspects of their characters, they turned up the competitive nature of Courtney and the, whatever the hell Duncan is this season, while still trying to add this relationship dynamic to it. And it's just not fun to watch. Give me those moments where I felt something watching these two together, not whatever they did this season. Whatever. Rant over. Where was I? Oh, yeah, shit. Animal Buddies. This challenge was honestly kind of cute. I think all of the final 4 fit very well with their animal buddies. Owen and the bear, I mean, come on, do I have to explain? Courtney and the shark, come on, do I have to explain? Duncan getting lost and stranded from his chameleon, only for the chameleon to be with him the whole time, is so good. And then Beth finding the secret raccoon civilization was a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, but it works for Beth because she wins immunity, and it wasn't even close. Right before the vote, however, Owen finally gets exposed as the producer's mole by everyone. That can't be good news, but we'll move on to the vote anyways. And I'll tell you what, with this being the last vote, a lot of the votes this season were really fun. Not as dramatic as season 1, but more interesting. And actually explaining the reasoning and voting for why people got voted off, which I really do appreciate as a reality TV fanatic. And this final 4 vote was great. A 2-1-1 vote. Beth votes for Courtney. Courtney votes for Owen. Owen votes for Duncan. And Duncan votes for Courtney. Taking out Courtney in a blindside. Her own man took her out because she was insanely controlling and her popularity is in the dumps. So Courtney is taken out. Then Owen gets taken out too because, like, what good is a mole if everyone knows they are a mole? Very counterproductive. And, 1, 2. Oh, shit. We're at the final 2. Well, damn, it's Duncan versus Beth with 2 episodes to spare. This episode itself was solid. Pretty much middle of the pack as far as the season is concerned. So let's move to episode 25 and begin to wrap up this season. Oh yeah, episode 25, Mutiny on the Soundstage, nearly to the end of the show. And it's Duncan versus Beth. An all-time battle. Oh, who am I kidding? What the fuck is this matchup? Whatever. I mean, Duncan was destined to get a win eventually. The show and a lot of people love him, but Beth? I'm not here to judge any finalists or anything, but there are plenty of female cast members I would have rather seen here than Beth. Lindsay, Courtney, Lashana, just off the top of my head, just from this season. I just don't think she was that interesting to me. I liked her more on season 1, and she was in like 9 episodes. We're gonna push through and crown a winner here. The finale is a pirate movie theme, which is fun, but the best part was definitely the challenge itself. One of my personal favorites in the show's history, the campers will race through the whole action lot, answering trivia questions about the eliminated contestants. Get it wrong, you have to do a theme challenge that corresponds with that movie theme. It's just so good. I'm sorry, but Total Drama did right here. And the way the challenge played out was even better, with Duncan not really caring to know anything about anyone, so he gets all the questions wrong. But he has such a massive lead built up at the beginning that he's able to stay afloat, while Beth got to know pretty much everybody and gets all the questions right, slowly but surely catching up to Duncan in the end. And then I think the side plot was also wonderful. Chef announced that he's leaving the show because Chris treats him like shit. He's not wrong, so go off, Chef. Know your worth. This does drive a wedge between Chris and Chef. In actuality, though, Chris will really miss Chef and doesn't want him to actually leave the show, which is really cute. Like, these two are kind of goals. And then, in the end, they come back together and finish the challenge, and oh my god, one of my favorite one-episode storylines, unironically, in this show. After some close calls in the race to the finish, Duncan and Beth are neck and neck, and the winner of Total Drama Action is...
It's
Oh.
a tie!
A to be continued in the finale? Who would have seen that coming? I mean, it's kind of everyone. We have a whole nother episode after this. We obviously weren't crowning a winner this episode, but who, what, when, where, why, and how are we about to crown a winner of this show? We got one more episode to figure all that out. As for this episode, it's so good. Before my watch, I thought this had a chance to be number 1. Not quite that top spot, but very respectable, and I enjoyed each and every moment from beginning to end. Hear ye, hear ye. We have made it to the finale. Duncan versus Beth. But for real this time, we're actually going to crown a winner, I swear. But, the way that this turned out was not the plan. Jeff and Bridget have no idea what to do to crown a winner, and Chris and Chef are about to head on to vacation. This is not going to end well. Eventually, Chris and Chef find out what's going on and how awful of a job Jeff and Bridget are doing at mediating this finale, and Chris is just an absolute gem this episode.
I bet Ryan Seacrest's driver would be able to fly
Literally
the
one of
car.
the prime examples of why I love Chris so much. And then a good chunk of the episode is spent with the other contestants doing these challenges to try and determine a winner before Chris and Chef arrive. They all flop, but it was fun while it lasted. But Chris has arrived, and he's here to save us all. And with all the charisma in the world, reveals the winner will be determined by a vote. A vote, people, that is beautiful. As a Survivor and Big Brother nerd, I love a good vote to determine a winner. Each of the peanut gallery gets to ask a question. It was definitely something. Jeff and Bridget make out. Trent was crazy. Izzy. Gwen actually asked a normal question because remember, she's the normal one of the group. DJ cares about the flowers. Owen has an eat-off. Duh. Heather just rants about how great she is. Lashana is just awesome. Justin needed his ego lifted. Lindsay likes Beth and cruises. Harold is great. And finally, we get to court. Oh, sorry, we're out of time. Moving on, the winner of Total Drama Action is Beth and Duncan. Yeah, remember last video? There isn't a canonical winner of the show. So we got double trouble. Duncan and Beth are both winners, baby. Each having their moment. Duncan celebrates his ending with Courtney kissing him, and I think they're officially together again. And then Beth's ending has her boyfriend coming out, which proves that he's actually real. Like, yeah, that's what I was saying, but good on her, even though she definitely is a walking red flag. Yeah, that wraps it up, and that's the finale. There's only one place for this to land, so I'm going to stick it right in its rightful spot. A really cute and good ending to the show that was simple but had the characters carry it at the same time. It's definitely my favorite finale, at least out of the first 2 we've seen so far. Let's wrap things up and conclude the 2nd season of this iconic television show. God damn, do I like talking total drama or what? Whatever. I made these life choices to adore this show so much I'm literally going to rank every episode in the show's existence. That's Feature Me's problems. Let me try my best to wrap up Total Drama Action in a cute little bow to leave you guys off on. I enjoyed this season. I definitely did. I've always felt some kind of way when people would just disregard Total Drama Action as the quote-unquote irrelevant season of the first 3. And as that forgotten middle child of the first 3 seasons, I've always felt myself being an action defender. It's a good season, really funny, and holds on its own in some points. So it's a shame that honestly, the biggest takeaway I have from the season is that I appreciate Total Drama Island so much. That's not a bad thing in the grand scheme of Total Drama. Give Total Drama its flowers, please, I'm begging you. But the fact that my takeaway from this video, where I talked only about Total Drama Action, is that I love Total Drama Island even more, is a little sad. But it's still a season of Total Drama. I will continue to stand on the soapbox defending Total Drama Action with my life. All Total Drama fans should absolutely give it a watch. No, it's not to the standard of Total Drama Island, but it's not that far off from that quality. Some things they did this season I liked a lot more than what they did in Island. Total Drama Action will always have a special place in my heart, no matter what. That's it. That's gonna do it for me. If you made it to the very, very, very end of this video, give me your thoughts. I love all the comments and the discussions, positive or negative. And if you have made it to this point at the end here, you are officially the coolest person ever. No debate, just facts. Alright, I'll finally stop talking now. Stay tuned for World Tour and every other season coming very, very soon. Bye-bye.